Well, here we are, Sunday Night Live, February 22nd, 6 o'clock. I went to the doctor this last week. And it's not very good. He says I'm fat. What the heck? What's up with that? He said I'm fat. Unfortunately, he's right. I've neglected my health and myself for far too long. So I'm going to play a game with you, my audience. And I have, let's see, Contact in the Desert. I am going to Contact in the Desert. And it is the end of May, beginning of June. So that leaves me 100 days. He says I weigh 257 pounds. Unfortunately for me, it's all either on my belly or in my head. That's why I'm a fat head. So I am going to pledge here. I'm going to do this publicly. I'm going to do a public humiliation on purpose so that I stick with my goal. I would like really, truly, now I'm going to shed all 57 pounds, but not before Contact in the Desert, I don't think. I am going to commit here to losing 30 pounds. So I will keep you updated how I'm doing and basically what I'm doing, etc., so that I can get back to healthy. I'm on the verge of some pretty bad stuff and it's scaring the hell out of me. So I'm going to do something about it. I am not a spring chicken anymore. Doggone it. I wish I was, but I am not. So that's how that works. So anyway, hello, everybody. Let me say hello, everybody. Cynical Banana, Firefly, how you doing? Looks like you two are the only ones here in the chat. Welcome to all the rest of you too. So anyway, let's get this show on the road. I listened to several, dozens of the news flashes of we are at potential disclosure, UFO disclosure. Thank you, President Barack Obama. Thank you, President Donald J. Trump. 2 presidents in 6 days apart talking about UFOs is pretty intense. Pretty fun and interesting. Boy, we live in weird times. So I found this news clip of Neil deGrasse Tyson this morning on Sunday morning. Now, those of you who have watched my videos know I have criticized him somewhat harshly in some respects, and I do believe rightly so. Whether you hate him or love him is irrelevant. I'm more interested in what he had to say, and I'm not going to sit here and defend him. I'm going to put him in context with the wider UFO phenomenon, and I think this is quite remarkable and interesting. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to compare and contrast, and I'm going to discuss how Neil deGrasse Tyson's approach to UFOs is different from the whistleblowers. I picked 2 main whistleblowers, David Grush and Lou Elizondo. I know, I get it. Some of you say they're not whistleblowers. They're disinformation agents. I'm not interested in this point at trying to label anybody tonight. I have my own theories, but that's what they are, as theories. I want to explore the epistemologies. I want to explore their approaches to the UFOs because that will give us a much better grasp, understanding, and philosophical and historical and scientific and foundational context in which to continue looking into UFOs. I also compare and contrast Neil deGrasse Tyson with Gary Nolan. And those two have butted heads before, or at least Gary has backhanded Neil deGrasse several times. I want to give a broader epistemological approach to this whole UFO phenomenon from different aspects of science. I have this wonderful clip of Neil deGrasse Tyson that I want to share with you right now. And I will, let's take it from there. Let me play this first part of this first clip because it's so interesting. And I do want to discuss this without question. There is a no question in my mind. I want to discuss this. Okay, there it is. Okay, let's take a listen for just a couple of minutes here.
When President Obama went viral last week for suggesting that aliens might exist, President Trump had to pipe up. He's trying to get in on the alien action, posting on Truth Social that he would, quote, begin the process of identifying and releasing government files related to alien and extraterrestrial life, but not before he ripped Obama for releasing, quote, classified information.
I don't know if they're real or not. I can tell you he gave classified information. He's not supposed to be doing that. He made a big mistake. He took it out of classified information. No, I don't have an opinion on it. I never talk about it. A lot of people do. A lot of people believe it.
Joining us now to discuss is astrophysicist Neil deGrasse Tyson. He's the author of the forthcoming book, Take Me to Your Leader, Perspectives on Your First Alien Encounter, which comes out in May.
Which may be coming sooner than we think.
Get ready. You better get ready.
I gotta say, I just am so grateful to President Obama for making those comments, and now he's forcing President Trump to act. Do you think we stand to actually learn anything from a purported release of files relating to UFOs and extraterrestrial life?
Well, if I were Trump, I would have instead said, I want any government agency that has an alien to bring forth the alien. Then you don't need documents. just think about that. What's the point of documents if you actually have the alien? Just bring out the alien. And until that happens, it seems to be all about who you believe and what conspiracy theory. And it feels almost like a religion at some level, where are you a believer or are you not? Are you with us or are you not? And I think bringing forth an alien would just settle that immediately.
Well,
Boom. Now, I don't care if you like him or hate him. That is boom. Cut through all the shit. Give us the evidence. I mean, that's pretty good. That's pretty interesting. Now, and the reason I'm emphasizing this one is because I'm going to focus tonight. That's going to be my basis, but I'm going to compare and contrast some items that Tyson did not look into. Now, this clip isn't very long. It's about a 10-minute clip. Tyson says some other things that I want to share with you that I thought were really interesting. I'm not agreeing with him all the way across the board. But man, what a fantastic subject to discuss on my Sunday Night Live, right? Hey, it's always best when you pick the controversial figures. That's why I picked Tyson, right? Among others. So let's keep going. I want to share a couple more items of what he said and kind of touch on them a little bit. But this one here, I'm going to bring it back to this one because this has radically powerful implications and, believe it or not, radically powerful problems with it as well, given our current situation. And that's what I want to juxtapose tonight to give you food for thought. Okay. So let's keep going here. And I am 100% with all of you. I am not kidding. I can't freaking stand the mirth and aliens. All that stupid happy horse shit. I'm with you. So let's just bracket that and ignore it. And let's focus on his ideas that he shares, because I think they are really good. Really. I don't much appreciate his attitude. I get it. I'm with you. But that's not what I'm interested in. The ideas. That's what I want to focus on. Let's keep going.
This administration is not particularly known for its transparency, I guess, right? So they're not going to suddenly pivot to being like, we want to be super transparent about everything, from the Epstein files to the aliens.
No, I mean, but I can tell you this, that deep conspiracy thinking people, the president can say what he wants and
they'll read into it.
No, they'll just say, yeah, he's part of the conspiracy, right? So the president says, bring out the files. And if the files don't satisfy the conspiracy theorist, they'll just continue to say there's information being withheld. And so that's why the alien makes a big difference here.
But what happens if you bring forth an alien and it doesn't, I guess, look like what everyone thought an alien was supposed to look like?
Yeah, we all know what aliens look like, right? They're gray with big almond eyes.
Sometimes they're green.
Sometimes they're green, but the gray has been winning out over the green ones lately. Have you noticed that?
Personal theory,
evolution.
My personal feeling is if you are an alien, smart, talented enough to make it all the way over here, be embedded here, be doing your thing, you probably have like taken on human form.
We both
So
watched
if
the
you were,
Donia.
so if you were brought forth, it would just be, and it was, you happen to be working for some government agency that could just grab you, you would just look like, I don't know, any one of us.
Okay, this is evidence to me that Hollywood is really successful.
I thought I was coming to an informed conversation.
No, but it's important because space-based films that portray aliens are a big part of our culture.
Yeah.
What we think aliens look like, how they behave, how they might treat us. One of my important observations that I've made for myself is, look at it. Most aliens that are portrayed are evil. And where do we get that from? We don't have actual evidence that they're evil, but you know where we have actual evidence? That when we have higher technology compared to another branch of our species, it never bodes well for the community that doesn't have the technology. So my feeling is that we are placing upon the aliens,
we're projecting onto them,
the aliens what we know we would do if we.
Yeah, that's interesting. Don't know if I fully agree with him, however, though, because we do have stories of abductions, and some of those are really horrific. And I want to recognize that. He never mentioned the abductees and all, and I want to recognize their pain and honor their experience through at least saying, we know you're real and we are paying attention to you, and you have not been forgotten or placed to the side. But I believe what Tyson is saying is interesting because, I mean, we've all heard the stories. I've made a big whoop to do in a couple of videos previously where I say, what kind of ridiculous morons would try to shoot down the aliens when they obviously, ding, 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 hello, you morons, are vastly superior to us. It's like a 6-year-old kid running up and kicking Muhammad Ali in the kneecap. What dumb kid would ever, or Mike Tyson, even right now in his old age, to bring it up to date? You don't do that. Come on, show some brains. But this idea that because it's unfortunate that we might be inherently evil, and this is how we treat lesser than us. That's something to self-reflect on. Let's keep going. I want to share just a couple more ideas. Then I want to wheel back to that. Well, actually, those are the two main. Never mind. That's all I want to do with this. At this point, that's all I want to do. That's good enough, because I do want to wheel around back to the idea that Tyson was talking about show us the alien. And so let's take a look at that on not only from an intellectual basis, but I mean, why does that just zing in on us, right? That is powerful. However, it has some short-sightedness to it, and I want to explore that with you too. It's actually very strong rhetorically. Scientifically, it's spot on. Yeah, there it is. Oh, you're making a claim? Show us. And, oh, hold on. I got to shut off my heat. I was going to do that. Turn down my furnace. So what Tyson does is he disrupts the way the conversation has been managed here. And I like that, because we've almost got mesmerized into thinking, well, we need more reports, or we need more whistleblowers. We don't quite have enough high up military men testifying about their experiences, either out on the ships or up in their jets, etc. Tyson really does put it where it needs to be. Put the alien in front of us. I mean, that's powerful. There's no other way to say this. However, let's unpack it, because we want to know where this forces the issue. Beneath that soundbite, we could call it a soundbite of Tyson, when he says, stop with the reports and show me the alien, he is actually invoking a core principle of empirical science. Extraordinary claims require direct, independently verifiable evidence. That's how this works. We didn't make the universe this way. It's the way the universe is, right? It's the way we can be assured of a reality. Yes? So we're not interested in more documents or more testimony or more trust us, bro, because it's classified. Yeah, we've had it up to here with that. Let's go beyond that. A physical specimen just literally ends the debate. Right? Would you agree with me on that? So this is the orthodox stance. Why his statement is strong? Because it collapses ambiguity. There's no more question. There's no more guessing. We don't have to hypothesize about, well, let's see, is this a gray? Is it a reptilian? Could it be a Nordic, tall, white, etc.? No. When the alien's there, you'll know. You'll see it. You'll know, right? So right now, the UAP situation is in a kind of a fog through classified reports that inevitably end up on our desks, redacted, right? Half of it scratched out, so it doesn't do a lot of good. We have radar data, but 90% of us don't know how to read radar, and they never explain it very well. Eyewitnesses are so-so, secondhand reports are valueless. Really, congressional testimony, this is mildly helpful. I'm not going to be all the way negative, because it's not totally negative. However, they're not bringing anything to the congressional hearings that's alien, right? So it has limited viability. It has limited value. We can't help but say that, because that's the fact. How many of us, after watching the hearings, of course, we go out here on YouTube and we scour all of the YouTube videos, and how many of us have read the comments, and how many thousands upon thousands said, oh, this is another nothing burger. That's why. Oh, you didn't bring the alien. Well, shoot. The burden of proof is trivial if you'll just do that one thing. You don't have to worry about panels or more testimonials or more congressional hearings. You can save the taxpayer a bunch of money, right? But this exposes a national security contradiction now, too. So if someone was to say, well, yeah, we have the alien bodies, and they also say that we can't show them because of national security, which is their go-to reason, right? Tyson would essentially say, then you don't understand how science works, or you're misusing secrecy. Okay, let's go with that. Let's unravel that a little more, because the biological fact of non-human intelligence does not reveal radar frequencies, does not reveal sensor locations, and it certainly does not reveal recovery methods. These can be redacted while still proving existence. So why aren't you showing the alien? You can show the alien that it's real and still keep everything else out of public's eye that has to do with national security. Having an alien has nothing to do with threatening national security is Tyson's approach to this, right? So that's a serious challenge. This draws a line between science and narrative in a very strong way, because story-based epistemology is one thing. But, I mean, like you bring out the alien. That is an entirely different level, I would propose. Really, seriously. I don't care how many words you write, put the thing on the table. That's Tyson's approach. And he's not being dismissive of testimony or congressional hearings or nothing like that. He's not mocking any of the process up to here and now. He says, just put the alien out here. It's that simple. Or is it? Well, that's what I want to look at. So even partial disclosure would be decisive. Like I said, you don't have to describe everything, but then he's not trying to solve the political or the bureaucratic problem. And he's ignoring the bureaucratic problem, right? I wish it was that simple to just, well, show us the alien. Yeah, that would be nice, but you know as well as I do that it's never going to happen. Because just so many reasons. None of the bureaucratic crap of the intelligence reports and withholding them and making sure China doesn't get any information. Let's not have any more leaks out of the FBI or the CIA, etc. All of that huge time using methodology, it doesn't matter to truth finding. It's bureaucracy. And unfortunately, that's a feature of our government. It's not the bug, which sucks. So does Tyson's recommendation solve the problem? Scientifically, absolutely it does. It's the end of the problem. Show the alien. Now, politically, of course, it's not going to, because with politics, it has built-in ambiguity and things are delayed. Information just does not travel on greased wheels in politics. Not at all. Plausible deniability is what they want. I mean, they compartmentalize and departmentalize the government to the point to where it can't even hardly function. That's, and then they, on top of all that, they want to control the narratives, and this department will say one thing and that department will say another thing, and therefore we get contradictions, and the government doesn't know what the hell it's talking about, and it ends up being very distrusted. That's bureaucracy for you, right? That's why Tyson's statement hits so hard. And it really does sound convincing. He never says it outright, but he's saying if after 80 years, your strongest claim is still trust us, bro, it's classified, then the evidence isn't there. And you will see this in a lot of comments on lots of videos on UFOs or aliens or something to that effect. There's a lot of people who just say, you know what, they're not even there. There is no evidence because UFOs aren't real. They're real out there, like Obama was trying to say. Oh, yeah, the aliens are real out there somewhere, but they're not here. You know, after 80 years. Now, I've been doing reading of several different authors. I mean, you know, it's like Hecklefish says, and even Neil posts his book. Hey, you know, yeah, there's always a book. There's always a book. True, you know. So it's a good promo for his book. I don't think I'm going to waste my money on it. I might regret saying that later. I don't know. But yeah, if someone wants to buy it and gift it to me, I'd read it and review it. But I don't know if I even want you guys to waste your money on it. So scientifically and epistemologically, he's fair. Rhetorically, he's devastating. And politically, he's at best inconvenient. The bureaucracy doesn't like that zinging, straightforward approach. But that's science for you. So now this brings us up to another idea. What about the Mexico bodies? Neil, you said show us the alien. Well, Mexico did that a year ago or so, and they had it on national television. There you go. They brought out the aliens. Well, even I wasn't convinced of that. So why not? Number one, we have no idea about the provenance of those aliens that Mexico showed. We have no idea who found them. We have no idea of the history. You know, we didn't see any lab reports. That's for damn certain. Literally no information to give us context. There's just something that looks like a piece of clay that was shaped into a shape of an alien that looked like Steven Spielberg's E.T. And it just was not that convincing at all. And those are the reasons why. So if Tyson wasn't convinced by the Mexico aliens, would he be convinced if an alien was brought out? You know, that's a question that we truly have to ask. The anatomy of the alien just did not, I was not impressed. But this didn't disprove Tyson either. The aliens coming out in the Mexican government and all that, that doesn't disprove Tyson. Well, you wanted an alien, they showed an alien. No, that didn't work. So when Tyson says show the aliens, he says show something that survives serious independent testing. And that's what Mexico did not do with those alien bodies. And you notice the subject, I mean, it was a huge subject for a while, and then all of a sudden it died out and went away. Well, that happened for a very damn good reason. Several good reasons is because there was simply no independent verification at all by anybody on those aliens. If there is some, send me to it. I'll gladly look into it and I will revive the subject. But at this point, I am as skeptical as Tyson on the Mexico alien bodies. So I'm willing to change if it can be established legitimately. And that means stringent controls. None of this willy-nilly. Well, you know, I had an angel visit me and tell me that those alien bodies are true. That ain't going to cut the mustard. This ain't Mormonism, you know. Angel Moroni coming and testifying to the witnesses that the gold plates were real is not going to cut the mustard on this. No, it's got to be more solid than that. right? So you've got to have repeatable testing. You've got to have an understanding of the clear origin. That's how this works. So we want to ask who would do the study, who did the study if they bring them out. Where was it published? Who checked it? You know. Okay, one lab said these are real aliens and bodies. Were they sent to multiple labs? And do we have all of the write-ups, etc., that we can take from lab A, lab B, lab C, lab D, lab E, lab F, lab G, lab H, and let's compare and contrast all of it. That would do really well to at least get this off the ground. Wouldn't necessarily prove, but we need something rigorous. You know, we're tired of just the stories. Trust me, bro. We don't trust you, bro. Give us the evidence. Give us the reasoning. Give us the context. Yeah. So, and let's make sure, and this is a major part of science, let's make sure that it can be falsifiable. If it's not falsifiable, it's not scientific. Now, the reason we go to the scientific, we don't disbelieve in the metaphysical. That's not the issue. We don't disbelieve in feelings. We don't disbelieve in extra dimensions. We're not saying that. We're saying that these bodies that they showed are in our physical third dimension being claimed to be actual aliens. So it is within the realm of science in the third dimension with the physics, with the math, with the chemistry. I'm just keeping it simple and straightforward. That is not too much to ask on such an absolutely staggering claim that is being made. That's where I'm coming from, right? So we need a big support system for that kind of a claim. Several independent labs, preferably not just one or two Mexican scientists. If these are actual aliens, for the love of all that is ufology, get 500 scientists from all over the world. They would gladly jump in here. The biologists, the chemists, the physicists, the doctors. Who would not be willing to get together with a group of 500 scientists and examine a real alien? Come on. Why hasn't that been done yet? The mere fact that this general malaise, this lack of interest in the Mexico aliens is its own refutation. Something real would cause the entire cadre of world scientists, doctors, philosophers, linguists, etc., to congregate together on those bodies. Nothing like that even remotely happened. And it would be world news daily. And we haven't seen that. So, and the reason for that is because we know reports and papers can be faked. We want to make sure that doesn't happen. The best way to do it is cross-check it with all sorts of different people who smooth out a particular bias either for or against the idea of aliens. All together, working on it together, right? So that's why we're doing that. So seeing something, in other words, is not the same as believing it. And now we have proof. You hear people say, well, when I see it, I'll believe it. Bullshit. Not me. Oh, hell no. You saw the Mexican aliens. Are you going to say because you saw them, you're going to believe it now? I don't. So that takes away that idea. Well, when I see it, I'll believe it. Nope, that's not how this works. Wrong answer. Thanks for playing. I don't have a clue. Because we all saw it, and very precious few of us believed it, and for very gosh damn good reason, right? So verification is what will make you believe, not just seeing something. How many people see UFOs all the time, and it turns out that they're not? Well, but I believe it because I saw it. That doesn't work, right? So this is where we're at. Now, it doesn't prove that people are going to believe everything. A lot of us didn't. It doesn't prove that disclosure is impossible or that Tyson is wrong either. It proves that a dramatic reveal without real scientific support from the community of science around the world is what creates skepticism, not belief. If we had that cooperation, it would go miles toward helping belief. But is that what we want? Is it about belief? I don't think so. I don't think so. Here's the uncomfortable truth. We didn't reject the Mexican aliens because we're closed-minded or we're trying to be difficult or because we hate the whole idea of UFO disclosure. No, I'm against it. I don't want aliens to be. That's not why we rejected these aliens at all. Our mind has a strong question when we see something of this caliber. Why does this look like a trick instead of disclosure? That's a very important point, right? So when evidence looks like performance instead of science, that's when doubt is the smart response, even if the claim turns out to be true, because that's how we discern. We don't want to lower our standards, and we don't want to stop trying to discern what is true and what is false. There's no point in that. So this is very interesting. Show me the thing. It's that simple. It's got a physical artifact, if it has independent verification, if it has repeatable testing from all types of different labs around the world with all types of different sciences. The epidermologists, the skin doctors, the blood doctors, the bone doctors, everybody should be involved with this on an ongoing basis. And preferably, they would take a year to do thorough testing. Nothing like that's happening with these for a very good reason. They're not real. Nobody was ever convinced over the first hurdle. They never got past the first hurdle. So when we compare Tyson's approach to this with whistleblowers, and I'm going to take Grush and Lou Elizondo as a basis, here is the standard when we compare these two epistemologies. With the whistleblowers, their standard is, well, yes, the evidence exists, but you are not cleared to see the evidence. And that's the difference. Science says, oh, you say there is a perpetual motion machine. Show it to me. Show me how it works. The patent office used to get hundreds of patents a year on perpetual motion machines. And they finally sent out a worldwide memo saying, until you bring the machine in, we are no longer even going to look at these. And it stopped all applications. Because as we know, if you study Physics 101 now, this is not graduate physics. You almost don't even have to know algebra to know that the perpetual motion machine is pure myth. It's the same thing here. If you're not cleared to see it, they want what the whistleblowers can give us is testimony under oath. Okay. Classified briefings. Okay. We've seen a lot of those. Or at least heard about a lot of them. Secondhand confirmation. I was told, or else I saw a document here, or I read a book there from the Congress, etc. Or the appeals to authority and the ability to access the physical material. whether it's a flying saucer, whether it's an alien body, whether it's a dead alien or a live alien. Boy, wouldn't that be something else if they brought on a live alien? Whoo-wee! Wouldn't that just knock you on your keister? Relax, it's not going to happen. It'll happen in the movies, but never in real life. So the idea with whistleblowers is you don't have openness and testing and everyone coming together and documenting everything on video day by day of what they're accomplishing with the alien body. That's not how whistleblowing works. That's Tyson's science. Whistleblowers say institutional secrecy blocks direct proof, so testimony is the only available move. So where these two intersect, this is an interesting intersection. They both agree that their claim is testable. In other words, we aren't talking metaphysics. We aren't talking that this is in a 19th dimension. It's three-dimensional and it's physical, and therefore it is testable by our known laws, physics, math, chemistry, etc. Both sides agree to that. This is not a matter of belief. Everyone agrees that this is physical reality we're talking about. Okay, so that's big. But both sides reject just vibes. Well, I have a feeling that this could be real. Neither side, Tyson nor the whistleblowers, say that. You never heard once in any of those congressional hearings for the last 3 years, any one of the witnesses ever say, well, you know, I got a burning in my bosom and I just feel that aliens are real. You did not hear that. You heard stuff like biologics and flying saucers and stuff like that. Trust your intuition. This is spiritual knowledge. You just have to feel it. None of that showed up. They insist there are materials and there are programs that are working on those materials, that are storing those materials. There are documents, but they're classified. And there are biological samples. David Grush's famous, well, there are biologics, right? So Tyson's response is basically, great, then we're arguing about access, not about whether it's real or not. And the whistleblowers would agree. They say, yes, there's your common ground. So either one of them, though, they're insufficient by themselves. Whistleblowers say constantly, I mean, just this last week, a new video came up on YouTube with, and I knew I was going to do this right on the tip of my tongue. The scientist, the really good one, oh crap. Anyway, it was on Jesse Michael, I believe. Or was it Julian Dory? No, it was on Jesse Michael. Julian Dory's hot to trot on the Epstein files right now. Where Kevin Knuth testified that, well, it's been kept from us. They're hiding the photos. The records and the reports on the really juicy stuff is just simply not accessible. The data is buried. The internal channels failed to bring it out to the public, etc. And it's all under lock and key, under national security safety anyway, right? Tyson just says the quiet part out loud when he says, if the system can't produce the artifact, it hasn't proven the claim. And that's where they, Tyson and the whistleblowers have tension, right? So testimony versus artifact, the whistleblower's logic is this. We have multiple credible insiders. Grush said, I've talked to 40 of them, right? In his congressional testimony. Lou Elizondo says he knows lots of them. Every time he opens his mouth, he says, well, I tell you, but I can't because I'm under strict restriction, But there's a lot of people out there who believe this stuff. So you have multiple witnesses, yes. It's classified confirmation. And they say that is what gives us strong evidence. Now, Tyson would argue differently. He would say, well, testimony is not evidence of nature, only of belief or a testimony of the bureaucracy itself. So that is unsatisfactory from a scientific viewpoint. You can testify about fraud. You can testify about process. You cannot testify something into biological reality, however. There's your line of demarcation right there. So the national security, unfortunately, becomes a permanent barrier. And this is what's driving us all nuts right now. Whistleblowers argue, well, we would show it, but secrecy laws prevent us from showing you or telling you. That's Lou's most used statement. Well, I know all this stuff. I just can't tell you because I've got to keep my security clearance, right? So Tyson's counter here is he says, then you are describing a political problem, not a scientific one. And science does not yield to politics. And this is why Neil deGrasse Tyson becomes so, the friction with Tyson becomes stronger here because he says, I'm not going to lower my standards for your idiotic bullshit politics. You either show the alien or thut the shuck up. That's Tyson's stance. And I'm not going to lie to you. I favor that one. Truly. You claim it, then you show it. So that's the killer tension. Science requires openness. Your stupid bullshit politics. The intelligence requires secrecy. We're not interested in that. Half your intelligence is utter stupidity anyway. So there's no compromising that boundary. And I'm on Tyson's side there. So the chain of custody versus the chain of clearance. See, the whistleblowers, they will emphasize you got to have certain clearance levels. You've heard them all talk about, well, I had a really high clearance level, Or they talk about compartments or SAPs or, you're only on a need-to-know basis. That's why presidents aren't read into the programs. They're only around for 4 or 8 years and then they're gone. So no, don't tell them nothing. We've all heard that. We understand that logic. Tyson, however, he cares about where the thing came from, provenance, who found it, how old is it contaminated? Can it be replicated or reproduced? Do we have an option of proving whatever artifact there is a fake, etc.? That's what Tyson cares about. Clearance, someone's clearance into a higher level program than someone else does not equal validation of the claim. Well, Lou Elizondo had one of the highest clearances in all the land. That means nothing for validating UFOs or aliens. That's how science would respond. I don't give a damn about your clearance, Lou. I want the information and the evidence. Otherwise, you ain't got spit. That's how this works. Very interesting. So, either the artifacts exist, and then some form of controlled disclosure is inevitable, and secrecy cannot survive peer review forever. Now, that's the good news, even though it's been 80 years in coming. I get it. That's 90 years too long. I'm with you. Or the artifacts just simply don't exist as claimed. That's the bottom line. What the system is doing is they keep giving us the same type of stories. They're recycling ambiguity. And after 80 years, you say, stop the stupidity. Either show it or shut up, because it's not there. I can understand how people arrive at that position. I'm seriously not kidding. I refuse to mock them. There's no way. You may not like Mick West, but he has a damn good point and reason for being a skeptic at this time. That's how this works, you know. I'm not saying I agree with him, but man, to mock him is really simple-minded when you see the whole issue. Tyson demand forces this fork in the road here. Whistleblower narratives, they try to delay the choosing. Tyson says, oh no, put up or shut up. That's it. That's it. So that's why they bristle at Tyson. And yes, we're going to bring in Gary Nolan into this, because why Tyson frustrates people like Gary Nolan is because he refuses gradualism, slow drip, drip, drip disclosure. You can avoid. That's it. The narrative buildup. Well, we've got to tell you about this event. We've got to tell you about this experience, and on and on and on. Tyson says, nope, give us the alien. You know, there's power to that. He has a lot of my empathy. I'll put it that way. Connect the dots. We got to have faith in institutions that allegedly fail. Oh, no, we don't. Whoever came up with that idea, I have no idea, but I don't have to believe in any institution's stance. So he's saying you don't get partial credit for extraordinary claims. And I think I'm with him on that one. That feels cold, but that's how it works. That's how science avoids fooling itself, right? You maintain that high bar of integrity as much as you can. And I get it. Science has some very human people that really do some very stupid things, and some of them put science back 50 years. I get all that. I'm talking ideology at this point, and we need to try our best to maintain that high level of discrimination, right? So strange things may be happening. That's what a lot of people resist. They don't want to hear that. Institutions may be mishandling them. Secrecy may be excessive. And whistleblowers may be sincere, and no alien bodies have been demonstrated. So we're not denying the mystery here. It denies closure without proof. That's what it does. So if we accept Tyson's standard, we avoid being manipulated by endless revelation hype. Oh, it's coming. It's coming. We're about to have disclosure. You don't want to miss this disclosure because we saw this 2 weeks ago, and we heard about this from my great aunt's niece's third son's best friend, and they were with the dog. This is real. You know, that's what we avoid, all of that noise. And it's very important that we do that. We recognize when an institution has failure. And man, have we had failure. And the abuse of secrecy. And man, have we had the abuse of secrecy. So where's the sweet spot? We want to remain openly curious. That's the best way. Open-minded, I don't know, at least openly curious. I'm not so sure about open-minded anymore. And we want to have ruthless evidence being shown standards without question. Otherwise, people are going to bullshit you into actually believing that there are space stations on Mars and that 1 million years ago they had a nuclear war. without any evidence whatsoever. Nice story, right? So a strong and fair reply to Neil deGrasse Tyson, and this is the whole argument in one sentence. I'll just give it to you. Tyson's right about what can count as proof, but he's mistaken about who controls the path to showing that proof. Now, this is the other side of the Tyson coin. I've been emphasizing the Tyson side because, quite frankly, that is where the majority of my belief lies, is with the evidence or lack thereof, you know. So what they say is, Tyson's idea assumes the path of discovery leads to evidence, and then from evidence we get peer review and agreement after we test all the ideas and everybody's in agreement, and then we can tell the public, okay, UFOs are real, aliens are here, here's the bodies, here's the saucer. In fact, we're going to jump in this flying saucer and we're going to fly it to demonstrate to you that it works. That would be Tyson's idea. But the path only works when scientists control the discovery, but they don't. So this is out of the realm of science, is how these other people will argue. Many discoveries don't happen in science labs. They happen by the military through their sensor systems, such as radar, right? They see something out in the ocean on radar, and that's where we saw the Tic Tacs, was because of radar, not the science laboratory. The intelligence recovery operations, that's the Jake Barber idea. Well, we went out and we picked up some of the crashed UFOs, vehicles and stuff. That didn't happen in science either. That's strictly a military operation. And don't think they're not going to take that UFO and put it somewhere where no one else but them can have access to it, right? So they run the control. Special access programs, secret agreements between countries. You know, that Reagan speech, you know, I would hope that if we did have a UFO invasion, that all of us here on Earth could unite together and work together. Yeah, stuff like that. Science isn't in charge in those areas, these guys say. Instead, access is controlled by lawyers, security officials, intelligence agencies, and secrecy laws and treaties. So when Tyson says, well, just show us the alien for Pete's sake, the reply is, you're asking scientists to reveal something they may not legally or physically control. For instance, do you really think Bob Lazar could have brought the UFO out of S4 and shown us? He never did. That's because he can't, even though he's a scientist working on it, right? So that's how that works. So the idea of just show the body ignores real safety rules. What about potential diseases and or radiation and or poisons? And that's not a joke because of the Varginha case down in Brazil that James Fox has been pursuing for the last 12 to 15 years. That alien was actually handled by one of the police officers, and he died from that because he didn't have any kind of resistance to whatever secretion that alien had given off. That's how the story goes. I'm using that as an illustration. I'm not saying I'm using that illustration because it's true. There's a video out there somewhere, he says, and I hope there is. Well, there's photos and stuff, but we can't have access to them. Well, he had a fantastic meeting in Washington, D.C. about a month ago where he brought in the medical team, the doctor who talked about the alien and found the alien and all that jazz. So he's trying. I see James Fox as trying in good faith, and he's spending an enormous amount of money and time to get this out. So I can't fault him for that. I say, go, man, go. I'm with you all the way. But that's still not proof, right? Every handoff has to be carefully tracked. Otherwise, you get missteps like happened in Virginia. There's your evidence right there that it needed to be handled better. Exposure risks have to be studied first. Every human disease can stay restricted for decades in some cases. So the argument is not it's dangerous because it's alien. The argument is we don't release the unknown biological material until we understand the risks. All right, that's sensible now. And that needs to give us a little bit of comfort because that's sensible. That makes sense, yeah. Well, the downside of that is this might take more than 1 week to do. This could take a very long time to make sure that there's no danger. Years, in fact. We just don't know. So, you have this side, Tyson is right from the scientific viewpoint, but safety rules don't instantly bend to the scientific ideals either. Sometimes safety takes priority over the science of show us the alien, right? Oh, okay, now that makes sense. So I'm trying to give you both sides here. Disclosure is not an all or nothing, but that's how Tyson thinks. You have the alien, show it, or else you don't have it. Now, that's a little simplistic, quite frankly. Real closure doesn't work like a light switch. You don't get to say, light on, light off. Light on, light off. Sorry, that's not how it works. Be cool if it did, but it doesn't. Partial evidence is only locked away because it can mislead. Small pieces without context can create false stories. Half-truths can cause more chaos than silence. So why cause greater problems with just partial information? We may not be hiding evidence because it's fake, but because showing only part of it would confuse people. Yeah. All right. Look. I understand that. I think. Yeah. I kind of side with Tyson. I want a simple, clean reveal. But that's never going to happen because life is never just simple and clean. There's a lot of messy involved with this subject, right? In case you didn't know. If you're new here, welcome to chaos, because sometimes it gets pretty flippin' messy, right? So, testimony of people, whistleblowers, people who are on the inside who have been read into the programs, we get it from a science point of view. Testimony may be weak, but it's very strong for law. All right, so security systems, testimony has a different job. Sworn testimony is often the only legal way to raise concerns about secret programs without leaking the classified information to our enemies. Now, I get it. That is a legitimate concern. I'm kind of taking a middle road here tonight, and therefore I'm probably going to get yelled at and swore at by both sides. It's all right. Bring it on. I've got a thick skin. I don't mind. I'm not asking you to believe me. I'm asking you to check the evidence yourself, right? So that's why David Grush and Lou Elizondo go through inspectors general. They go through congressional committees, of course, and they go through closed door briefings, because let's be realistic. Do we really want, especially now when every nation out there is getting more and more pissed off at America, do we really want to tip our hand and give our enemies an advantage? We used to be pretty friendly with everyone. Now we're going to shit and hell in a handbasket. Now secrecy is probably more important than ever. I would suggest. So, testimony then is the first step when evidence cannot yet be shown publicly. Tyson judges testimony from the science rules, but those may be the wrong rules. Sometimes they have to come through the legal rules. All right, I get it. I get it. So, and the strong point is Tyson is asking the wrong people. And that's the core issue. Because Tyson is asking science to solve the problem that only law and politics can solve. This might be a very valid point because scientists can't declassify secret programs. They can't override presidents or governments. They can't break international secrecy deals. They can't force intelligence agencies to release material. Tyson hasn't done any of that. So he knows those are his limitations. There's no question there. So your demand, Tyson, makes sense, but it has to be aimed at lawmakers and courts, those who classify documents and videotapes and pictures and all that jazz, right? So Tyson's challenge appears misdirected from this angle, even if it is logically clean. It doesn't mean it's illogical. It doesn't mean science is the devil and that it's always wrong, etc. No, none of that noise. It's just misdirected in this instance. So the rebuttal does not reject Tyson's standard, however. What it says is Tyson is right about what proof would look like, but it's wrong about who controls it or how fast society can handle it even. So science and national security, they run on different clocks. That's just a reality we're going to have to get used to because that's the way it is. Tyson wants answers now, and so many of us are there. We're back in time. We want the answers. However, institutions are thinking in decades. Well, we've had 8 of them. How many more of them need to be? I'm not going to be at all surprised if it's going to be another 8. And damn, that's bad news. I get it. But I mean, So even the best rebuttal doesn't ease the tension. If bodies exist, pressure for disclosure will grow. There's no question about that. And I'm in that pressure. I say show the body, right? If they don't, testimony is going to eventually fall apart anyway. So Tyson's demand pushes the future forward, but the rebuttal explained why delay happens, but that doesn't disprove Tyson. And it is that tension that science exists in and flourishes. That tension has to be there. That's the crazy thing about all of this. Both sides make sense, and they're trying to avoid different kinds of mistakes is all. And that's what makes it real. There's 2 different jobs in science, and mixing them up causes fights, right? Gary Nolan. Here's why I want to bring in Gary Nolan, because he is very good at finding faint clues hidden in messy data. He stays calm when things get confusing. He's spotting odd or unusual things before we have a full grasp of what they are or how they function or how they operate, right? He knows what might be important before proof is ever given. So Gary Nolan's thinking superpower, so to speak, is sensitivity. He notices things early, and that's a good thing. But there's risks here. And this is what else we have to understand. Every good side has a bad side. Sorry, I didn't make it this way. I'm just reporting the idea. He might be connecting dots too fast. And maybe we haven't found the answer yet, right? From Gary Nolan's point of view, we have to have enough evidence, right? We're seeing a few puzzle pieces and we're trying to guess the whole picture. Sometimes you're right, but often you're not. Neil deGrasse Tyson has a superpower too. He makes sure that whatever is claimed, it meets strong public proof standards, and we don't want to believe too early if the proof isn't there, if the evidence isn't valid enough, etc., if it can't be falsifiable, etc. Well, these guys are working toward the same goal. It looks like they're bashing heads. Publicly, they have disagreed without question. I don't think Gary Nolan likes Neil deGrasse Tyson at all, but that doesn't make him non-science. This is so important. I'm taking a middle road here because I think they both have something to contribute because they both want the same thing. They're just doing it differently. And that's okay because there is room for variety within the umbrella of science concerning methods. And that's what we need to begin to recognize. So we're getting away from wish thinking and hype. Okay, that's good. That belongs to story time. And that has its value, but not right now, not here. Tyson filters ideas very strictly. The problem is he is too cautious. He treats not proven yet as probably false. That may not be accurate at all, but that's his style, right? He's forgetting how long real discoveries often take. He is oversimplifying complex issues in order to give a clear public message. And I mean, that's not bad, but it's not the ideal way to do it either. So who should we trust more? Right? The honest and the uncomfortable answer is trust Nolan's evidence more about where to look and trust Tyson's evidence more about what to believe. They're using different stages of discovery. That's why it appears like they're working against each other when in fact they really are not. Think of the discovery like a pipeline. You find strange thing, you detect an anomaly, kind of like Gary did with that piece of metal that he's been testing that was allegedly coming off of a UFO, right? The data's messy, the signals are weak, the mistakes are common. There's lots of false alarms that happen. That's why Gary has not yet come to any type of a conclusion on that. And he's had it for years. But there's no quick, fast, easy. Well, tell us, is it a UFO metal or not? He doesn't have enough yet. So he's doing it properly. Whether you like him or not, not the issue. I'm not talking personality. I'm talking science, method, and evidence here. So they know what actual early discovery feels like. They have it. We have to have testing and checking. Validation, in other words, we have to validate what we have or don't have. You have to constantly repeat and double and triple check. Then you have to have others do the tests as well. This takes time. That's the essence of science, right? Methods must be public. I agree with that. Other explanations must be ruled out first before you go to the alien hypothesis. That's one of Tyson's big beef. Well, we can't repeat the structure, the construction of the pyramids, therefore aliens. No, that's the last explanation you ever think of. And I'm on his side on that. Fundamentally so, right? So that's the way it is. They have a public consensus, however. The claim must hold up even when misused. The explanation must survive bad actors. The evidence must stand on its own without any famous names whatsoever. Well, I mean, Albert Einstein said this, therefore it must be true. No, science doesn't go with authority. Well, he had a 19th degree clearance and that guy had a 22nd degree clearance. He's more accurate. No, science doesn't care. That's irrelevant to science. It doesn't go with consensus or authority. In fact, if you think about it, where do we go back to? Francis Bacon? That'd be far enough back. In fact, I think it did start with Francis Bacon. Science is a rebellion against authority, because authority dictated what reality was, and so much of the medieval authority was proven to be pure poppycock. That's exactly why science rebelled against it. And I'm with it there. Trust neither Neil deGrasse Tyson totally, nor Gary Nolan totally. Trust the process, because it has an automatic weeding out feature. That would be the idea. Who said it no longer matters. The question is, how careful has the evidence been analyzed, tested, compared, and or falsified? That is what is happening. Because choosing only one side or another can be dangerous. You're missing out. It's all together. Don't believe cool ideas too early, or you're going to be easier to fool. And don't miss real discoveries because you're too skeptical, right? Because you might ignore genuine mysteries. So, civilizations fail when they protect only against one kind of mistake. There's more than one kind of mistake. Well, there's more than one kind of process that helps us learn and understand as well. People keep asking, well, who then should I believe? Don't believe anybody. That's not how science works. It's not about believing what people say. It works when different people are checking each other. That's what we need, not believing someone. That's the power. So Nolan worries about throwing away real signals too soon. Tyson worries about believing claims too fast. But that's not a problem. That's the system working. This is very good. Really, seriously. You know, the one thing I grew and then outgrew as a Mormon apologist years ago was when the church kept insisting we all have to become unified, and that means even in our thinking. We all have to believe the same doctrines in the same way. That is utterly, preposterously impossible. But when they begin to point their finger at you and say that's because you lack faith and you are lesser spiritual than I am, that's when I said, bye, see ya. I'm out. Same with science. So, you know, we ask, is it interesting? Is something unusual? Is it worth studying some more? Those are great questions. That's how Gary Nolan approaches his science. Then we can ask, well, is it proven? Can other people repeat it? Or is it independent? Can it survive frauds or mistakes? And that's how Neil deGrasse Tyson approaches stuff. Both of them work well together. So trust people who find new possibilities to expand the search, not limit it or take it away even. And trust people who guard proof to decide when belief is earned, but never trust either one of them by themselves. It takes a community, man. That's not fence sitting. That's keeping our thinking clean and clear, right? Always checking, always making sure we're careful with what we're claiming and careful with what we're checking. We avoid jumping to conclusions too fast or taking too much time when the evidence really does point to the conclusion. Even if we want to believe otherwise, you always follow the evidence to where it leads, not to where you want to believe in something, etc. And there's no reason to be fearful. There's just a reason to be open-minded, and loving knowledge and understanding and mature wisdom more carefully than you normally would. That's the way to do it. That's my approach. That's what I try to do. I'm not always very good at it, but yeah. So basically, that's what I've got for you tonight. There are exquisite, and I believe a lot of exquisite things coming in our neighborhood of the cosmos, whether from under our oceans, from our mountaintops, from space, whatever. It really is a good time to be alive. There's no question in my mind about that. And I'm very grateful to be here right now. I mean, look at what we get to do together, you guys. This is simply black magic in my grandparents' time. Within my grandparents' time, what we are doing right now is utterly black magic or white magic, whatever. I talk normal. I'm on a screen. You guys from all over the world are able to see what I look like and hear my voice. You can agree or disagree with me. We can all connect and talk in the chat, etc. Utterly fantastic. Really mind-boggling. So I'm grateful for that. So, did I tick y'all off? I will take that question if the chat will quit moving. Hey, BYP, fellow LDS member here. I believe President Trump has our best interests about UFOs. Don't you agree? I don't think President Trump gives a damn about UFOs myself. He's too embroiled in all the other problems that he has shot himself in the foot with. So, no, I don't agree with you. No offense intended, I promise. It's all right. If you think he has our best interest in mind, that's fine. Go for it. That's good. We can still, you and I have much more in common together as neighbors than you and Trump will ever have, or me and Trump will ever have. There's no question in my mind about that. You know, you want for your wonderful family the same thing I want. You know, safety and food, comfort, enjoyment, things like that. So great question. Thank you for asking. Let's see. What else can I say? What else are you guys talking about? Oh, thank you. Thank you. I honestly try to get you guys good information. And I try to find stuff that'll stimulate us all. And not that we necessarily all have to agree on it. We don't. I mean, you can walk away from here and say, man, that guy is a clown. He doesn't know anything. And you might be right. On the other hand, someone else might say, holy cow, that guy gave me so much good stuff to think about. And I've understood things in a broader capacity. And that's okay too. It's all good. You know, we're all just trying to figure it out. Truly. I do believe that. So, oh, you are way too kind. Dead fish cheese spread, BYP, you're one of my best pieces of evidence. You asked the Tedesco brothers about the possibilities of it being in crystal for me, and they loved it. Oh, yeah, I remember that. In fact, I went on your, site and watched that clip that you made. Yeah, that's fun. I mean, see, here's your idea right here. Dead fish cheese spread and I have more in common than Trump and him or Trump and I will ever have, you know, because we're neighbors. The billionaires, no, they're not. They don't give a flip about you. Yeah, that was fun. That was fun. Thanks for posting that clip about me and the Tedesco brothers. That was cool. Yeah. And you know what? I need to get them back on, don't I? I haven't seen them for like 6 months. I'm curious to see what else they found. I will try to do that. I will try to get them on. Absolutely. That'd be fun to catch up with them. I love those guys. They're fantastic. So, well, no, I have not totally checked it out yet. Just because I can't debunk it, that is not proof that it's real. I really hope you see the fallacy of logic with that. Please tell me you do. that is not a good way to do that. Just because I can't debunk it, well, then it was the, don't go that direction, dude. No way, Jose. But I will check it out. Yeah, I will. And Cynical Banana, you know, I was an apologist. Yeah, I really was. When this idea dawned on me. Not to mention the world would be boring as hell if everyone thought the same. Humanity could not survive if that happened. Do you realize that? It is exactly like Tyson said in that news clip. Later on in the news clip, he said, do you realize that America's greatness came because we opened our borders and let the immigrants all come in from all over the world? And one third of the Nobel Prizes in science and physics and chemistry and mathematics came from immigrants. Do you realize our entire space agency and the reason you have a computer right now is because we took the immigrants from Germany who were scientists and brought them over here? How dare us speak against our own brothers and sisters because some dingbat in office thinks they're the enemy? Well, to hell with his attitude. He's a billionaire. He has no idea how much more we have in common. He rose to billionairedom because of his freedoms that he spurns now for the rest of us. I'm not going to get on a diatribe and roll. I am not against immigrants. That's what helped make America great. So that when we stupidly try to attempt to get rid of them, let me ask you a question. Whose land was this originally? It goddamn sure wasn't Donald Trump's family's. Wasn't mine. Wasn't any of you other European immigrants. Guess who the land belongs to? Better be careful when you start pretending you're God doing the devil's work. And I mean that seriously. Christ said, love your enemies. Do good to them who hurt you. Bless those who hate you. He didn't say hate, kill, and get rid of all your enemies and don't be hospitable. The sin of Sodom and Gomorrah was their inhospitality to strangers. Go read it in the original Greek and Hebrew. We're completely going against that with this current American political regime that's in charge. And they goddamn well better start trying to repent pretty quick, because I have a feeling the fuse of the Lord might be getting a lot shorter quick. That's my Sunday sermon. Take it for how you will. So anyway, yeah, I better quit before I get on a roll. I'll say things that are so truthful it'll scare the shit right out of all of you. How's that for arrogance? As if I believe I have the truth. Oh, that's fun, ain't it? Yeah, hey, I've been going an hour and a half. That's pretty good. That's not bad. I don't mind hour and a half long. I did a real long one here a couple nights ago, and that was a blast. And my gosh, a lot of people liked it. So maybe, maybe on a Tuesday night or a Wednesday or a Thursday or another Friday or Saturday, I'll try to do a long form live again when I find something really cool and juicy that is uplifting. In other words, I'm not going to watch the news, and I'm sure not going to pay attention to politics, because that's nothing but depressing. So I will do that. So listen, I wish the best for all of you. And I hope you guys have a fabulous week. I'm going to. I am going to start losing weight. Like I said at the beginning, I went to the doctor and his news was not good for me. So I have to get serious. I am 257 right now. I am really going to be curious to see what I can bump down to by next Sunday. So this will be fun to report. And I'll probably report it a few times during the week in my videos as well. So anyway, I appreciate all of you. Thank you for being here. You guys have a blessed week. I'll be back with more because I always find more. So that's what makes it fun. God bless y'all.